Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2023. Farmers, insurance, open, picks, research, early preview, guess the odds, everything that you need to know to get yourself ready for this week's tournament. Obviously, since you're here, smash the like button to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, leave a rating and review on the audio podcast, and sub to it as well, since you're feeling generous. And I'm going to do my walkthrough today using fantasynational.com. If you want a discount at fantasynational.com, just go to fantasynational.com/Mayo. Get yourself 20% off any of the membership levels. You can do your own walkthrough, use the model, the mixed condition model, the simulations. You can use the ownership projections for DFS later on in the week. It's all there for you. fantasynational.com/Mayo. Additionally, the Listeners League, I do not have it as of yet, becoming a theme here on Sundays, trying to rattle the cages at DraftKings. To get that link earlier, I don't want to say I'm going to for sure have it for Monday's show with Jeff, but I should most definitely have it for then. If I get it earlier, I'll update the video version if it's not already in there now. Ditto with the podcast, I can't update that, but if I do get it in time, I will put it in there. You can find that down in the comment section and description at the moment. In that comment section, give me your non-ROM winner of Torrey Pines this year, because it's just going bananas right now with how good ROM is. Obviously, I don't know what has happened at the American Express. As of right now, it's midway through the third round. Davis Thompson could just keep making eagles, I suppose, to try to keep pace with Rom at this point. Maybe Rom should go into the death bunker, put some off the rocks on 17, give someone a chance to compete with him, because at the moment, when he's hitting it so close and making every putt, it's going to be tough to beat John Rahm. We saw that tournament champions. We're seeing it again this week, and now that we talk about Torrey Pines, this is a place where John Rahm has experienced a lot of success in his career. Some quick info for you before we get started. I just want to go through this. This tournament starts on Wednesday. Don't forget that. They don't want to go head-to-head with football on Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for this tournament. So one fewer day of prep than you're normally going to have. The DraftKings show this week is going to come out on Tuesday instead of Wednesday to get you prepared for the week. It is a 156-man field, so a full field. Cut is after 36 holes. However, every player in the field will rotate between the two courses right away. Everyone's going to play the South course. Everyone's going to play the North course. Not necessarily in that order. It could be inverted in that way. But the cut will happen after each of them play the two courses. Then both of the final rounds, third and fourth round, are going to happen at the South course, the one where they hold the U.S. Open, the one that we're plenty familiar with, and primarily the harder course of the bunch. It's over 550 yards longer than the North course. It's Poana greens at the South course. It is bent grass at the North course. When you are playing DraftKings Showdown, stack the North course. That's where all the low scores primarily end up coming from. So let's take a flyover. Like I said, you're probably plenty familiar with what is going on at Torrey Pines Golf Course. But yeah, shout out to our friends at the PGA Tour for this fun choppy flyover for us. But here we are. Torrey Pines South, 3 rounds are going to be here. 7,765 yards, Poana greens. There is shot tracker at this course. There is not at the North course. None of the par 3s average a score under par. They're very difficult. 6 of the par 4s fall between 430 and 470 yards. All 4 of the par 5s are more than 560 yards. And the 4 par 5s were the 4 easiest holes on the course last year. You have to score on your par 5s, or else you're going to be propa fucked, as they say from Snatch. Showdown streaks potential for the South course. Holes 8, 9, and 10 are amongst the 7 easiest on the course, whereas hole number 1 was the 6th toughest last year. So there'd be a minor lean to starting on hole number 1 if you were stacking up the South course in Showdown, which I guess for like round 3 and round 4 you would want to know, which they're going to be starting on number 1 anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. You don't want to stack this for Showdown purposes the first 2 days. You want to stack the North course, par 72, 7,258 yards, bent grass. All 4 of the par 3s are more than 200 yards, so a lot of the yardage is sucked up in those par 3s because all 5 of the par 5s are under 560 yards. So over 560 at the South course, under 560 all of them at the North course. The 4 par 5s, again, the 4 easiest holes on the course, a birdie rate over 40%, and 2 of them had an eagle rate of over 4% and a bogey rate under 4%. So you got to make your bones there. on the North course. And for Showdown, you probably want to start on the front. This time around on the North, holes 2, 3, and 18 were amongst the 3 toughest last year. So starting on hole 1 is likely going to be your better bet. For key stats that we're looking at this week, obviously approach is always important. I'm going to run 2 models, like the in-depth model that I used for the US Open, and I have a very rudimentary one based on everything that I really wanted to see from a lot of the players, just simplified. Like, what exactly do I want them to do? I want them to hit the ball long. Driving distance is very important at Torrey Pines. Proximity from 200 plus yards, very important between the 2 courses, really, because you have those par 3s that are all over 200 yards. Strokes gained around the green. This is a hard course. So even strokes gained on difficult courses, a filter you can use on fantasynational.com, most definitely going to be there. And then par 4s, 450 to 500, as sort of a minor tweak there. I think that hitting fairways is still very important. You don't want to get your club caught in the first instance of the year of kikuyu grass. Always got to watch out for that pesky, sticky kikuyu grass. We'll hear more about that at Riviera in a few weeks when they say it 8,000 times per broadcast. But that's where we're heading for the courses this time around. Again, Torrey Pines South traditionally plays as one of the more difficult tracks on the PGA Tour, year in, year out. So that's just what we're going to have to roll with. That's why strokes gained around the green. Listen, a hot putter can save you a lot at this course. We saw that when Patrick Reed won a few years ago. However, if you miss the green, and they're not huge greens, the greens are smaller, they're around 5,000 square feet at the South course, 6,000 at the North course. So, I mean, they're not huge. They're not like tiny, like, let's say, Pebble Beach, but you're going to be missing. You're not going to be hitting a ton of greens in regulation here. If you can't get it up and down, you're screwed. That has to be a part of your game. So, who are bombers with good long irons and can chip? Besides Kirshner's guy, Windy C, who I tend to use every single year at this, he actually plays like decently well. Not great by any means, because he's Wyndham Clark and he's just not that good. But that is mainly what we're talking about when we're thinking about the skill stats that we want this week. So I'm going to head on over to fantasynational.com right now and talk you through a little bit of the history of this tournament and what we really do want to look for. Last year, Luke List ended up beating Will Zalatoris in a playoff. And the highlight really was his 66 on Sunday. It was the best round of the weekend. He was 5 back as Zalatoris starting the day. Will Z just kept hitting greens in regulation, 2 putting, and he shot 1 under in the final round, and he had his opportunities to win. Just Luke List had basically the day of his life. And when we dig into Luke List just a little bit, I do want to show you this, and something that as it pertains to around the green, like when you go with search like long-term Luke List around the green right now, he's kind of brutal. Like he's been really good lately, which is something that I want to see. But over the course after the win, he really struggled. But here's the thing. Check him out leading into the Farmers around the green. This was always peak Luke List of what we wanted to see, why I thought that he could win at a tournament like this, where, I mean, he gained 3.7 strokes putting. That's huge in 3 rounds at the South course. Once again, all of the stats are from the South course. It's the only one with shot length. Like the driving's always going to be there. He's a fantastic off the tee. The approach can be hit or miss. He was heating up at the time, but is this chipping? He's very good. He was inside the top 10 of all players in around the green coming into it. Then he went through his struggles. And we saw this earlier from him too in his career, where he was really good for a while and just piling up all these high numbers around the green. And then he started hitting the struggle bus a little bit. And that's when his game went to crap. I think he lost his tour card for a while. Then he ends up coming back and making this move, and that inevitably caps off with a win at the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. But now he's starting to do that a little bit more recently, just gaining tee to green everywhere. The putting is becoming less of a problem. At least it was at the Century. We'll see how the stats shake out from the Amex. But again, we're only going to get the stadium course numbers from there, so that's not really telling us all that much. But I did want to point out that the around the green game was trending back upwards for Luke List in this moment. The year before that, 2021, it was Patrick Reed. He's on live, so obviously he's not in the field. He won by a bunch, minus 14. He was the only guy to reach double digits under par that year. He was just electric. That was the year that everyone thought he was cheating when he found his ball like digging in, whatever it was in the rough. Still, he made every single putt, got it down from up and down from like 60 yards out. There's a lot of that going on this week too. Don't be afraid of that. He shot a 64 on Thursday. He was the co-leader after round 1. The year before, another live guy ended up winning. Maybe it's just spelling John Rahm, who does have a win here. Obviously, he won the US Open in 2021, and he won in 2017, his first time ever at the course. But it was Mark Leishman at minus 15 when he couldn't hit a fairway to save his life, but he was so far. He was missing the fairway by so much. He was hitting it over the rough into like the trampled down rough area where the spectators were, and was just fine the entire week. It was quite the strategy for old Mark Leishman. Justin Rose won in 2019 at -21, opened with a 63 on Thursday and shot all 4 rounds in the 60s. It's a pretty impressive day. Rose having a nice turn so far at the American Express right now, too. You can see he has 3 top 10s and 4 starts the past 5 years at Torrey Pines. And then Jason Day won in a 3-way playoff with Alex Noren and Ryan Palmer, the dreaded... Oh, no, was it that one? No, that's when it's so... I forget. Noren was paired with JB Holmes that year. That's what it was, because Holmes ended up coming 4th, and the round just took forever. This was a Monday finish. He also won in 2015. That was a 4-way playoff against Harris English, JB Holmes, and Scott Stallings. Scott Stallings, a guy who was also won at this course in the past, and he was 8 back after Thursday, rebounded with a second round 64 after opening with the 73. So that's just a little bit of history of what's happened the past 5 years. When you look total amongst players in this field right now, Jon Rahm has been the best player at this course. Not a big stunner, considering his worst finish in 6 career starts is a T29. That's not including his U.S. Open win at this course in 2021. So a 3rd, 7th, 2nd, 5th, and a win at a major at Torrey Pines. He's going to be a very heavy favorite this week. After that, Ryan Palmer, Justin Rose, Finau, and Jason Day are your tops over the past 5 years. And Day and Rose both playing a lot better golf at the moment. And even going down a little bit further, it's funny, all the rumors forever was, Xander, it's his hometown course, can't play well here. And in 2021, he was 2nd at this tournament. He was 7th at the U.S. Open. So I'm not too worried about that. Love Will Z at this course, 2 top 10s the past 2 years for him. And there's 2 ways that you can really go about doing well at this course. Like, you can be a bomber. That's the path of least resistance when you're really digging into everything. However, you can be a good player off the tee, a shorter player, but still very good with long irons. We used to see like Molinari play really well at this course over the years. Johnny was another one who just had like a really weird course history when it came down to Torrey Pines. So that's something just to keep an eye on if you want to take an out-of-the-box type player for the week. And like when it pertains to like your DraftKings lineups or something like that. Like last year, 7 players scored more than 100 DraftKings points, and 5 of them were priced $7,600 or cheaper. 2 years ago, 8 players scored 90 plus DraftKings points, and 6 of those 8 were over 8,000. So it kind of goes either way every single year. Basically, like 2 high-end guys, 4 low-end guys is likely the best way you want to go about it. At least that's what it was last year. In 2020, each of the top 5 DraftKings scores were $8,300 and above. In 2009, 3 of the top 5 in DK pricing finished top 6 in DraftKings points. So maybe last year was more of the outlier when it came down to the actual DraftKings scoring on the slate. So I just wanted to make note of that before we get into the field. And the field is really good this week. And we don't get Cantlay, we don't get our guy Tom Kim, but we do get JT, Rahm, Xander, Zalatoris, Morikawa. Who else do we got here? We got, Tony Finau, someone who's experienced a great deal of success at this course. Homa, Sungjae, Hideki Matsuyama, and then you're into your Dietrich, Cam Davis, Rogers, Kurt Kitayama, who I think is a great fit for this course. Someone like Dean Burmeister, who I think is an excellent fit for this course. Ditto for Taylor Montgomery as we go through everyone. So it's going to be wide open. So you're going to have to find your sleepers. Like, it's going to be a mix and match at the top. Like 90% of people are going to use Rahm, which probably actually makes sense at this point with the way that he's playing right now and the history that he's had at this course. So let's dig into the stats just a little bit. I told you about the different modeling that I wanted to do for this course. So let's go to Torrey Pines. I have Torrey Pines Simple and Torrey Pines Overall. So we'll start with Torrey Pines Overall. You can see there's a lot of shit going down right now. And these greens are really weird. I'll talk about the greens in general per average, but they're just very wonky at the South Course. It really seems like either you're really good on them or you're really bad on them, and it really makes no difference whether you're a good putter or not. Like JB Holmes has experienced a ton of success on these greens. Why? No idea. No idea why he's so good on these ones. And we've seen it at Riviera, too. Maybe it's a California POA type thing where JB Holmes excels. I can't really tell you why. Will Gordon is another one. In 6 rounds, he's gaining over a stroke per round on the greens. That's like unheard of. There's a few guys in this field. We'll jump into it a little bit later on, but Montgomery has been the best in 3 rounds, gaining almost 2 strokes per round on the greens at Torrey Pines South. So in terms of the more in-depth model, Ball striking around the green, par 5. 15, 15, 10. Driving distance weighted at 20%, 450 to 500 yards. As mentioned, the key par 4 range, 10%. Par 3s, 200 to 225, 5%. I threw birdies or better gained in at 0% just so I could see it. Not too worried about gaining a bunch of birdies on the field. Obviously, you're going to have to make birdies along the way. Best off just not giving up big numbers. And you do want to score on your par 5s. That's where you're going to do most of your damage here. Putting, 5%. Proximity, 200 plus, 5%. Par 4s, 5%. Strokes gained approach at 10%. A lot. And this hasn't been a great model for me over the years, but I'll show you the rudimentary version of it, which I actually like a little bit better. And this is over the past 50 rounds. It's going to be Rahm, it's going to be Finau, but we're going to see if we can find any of our sleepers. Coming into the week, I don't even think Burmeister is going to be a sleeper once we get down to it. But Wyndham Clark tends to play really well here. I would have said Taylor Montgomery, but everyone's going to be on Taylor Montgomery. So past 50 rounds, your best players are Thomas, Finau, Homa, Schauffele, and Rahm top 5. Then Zalatoris, Im, Kitayama, Callum Tarrant, Wyndham Clark, Cameron Davis, because we've overweighted a lot of the skills that these guys are really good at, including proximity from beyond 200 yards. And we take a look at around the green. These guys are no slouches. They're not the best out there, but they're also just quite good. They're above field average and quite above field average. After that, long term, you have Pendrith, Smalley, Griot, a short-ish hitter, should I say. By and large, he's actually up to 56th over the past 50 rounds in this field. So he's actually getting better with the driving distance. Increase that a little bit. Ben Griffin continues to pop here. But if you take a look at him, where's his around the green? All right, his around the green is okay. Then you get into this next range of guys like Pendrith, Steele, Rogers, Mullenix, all bad around the greens. I remember Rogers had a really good run here. I forget when it was. That's why we have Fantasy National, so we can go take a look at this. Having a bad go of it at Amex right now. It was 2020 is what I remember, and he just dominated on the greens that year. Lost 2.3 strokes on approach in 3 rounds at the South and gained almost 6 strokes putting. Like, okay, that's fun news. And he was in contention for first-round leader at the U.S. Open at Torrey, ended up coming 31st that year. So, and he gained 6.2 strokes on the green. So maybe he's just one of those guys that has these greens figured out where others can just really struggle with them to no end. See Davis Thompson, who's having a good week right now at the American Express. He rates out number 28. Burmeister, number 27. The Gala is up there as well. Davis Riley is another one at number 25. Now that he has his sea legs underneath him. Day rates out at number 20, and you know that Day is going to be a popular play this week. List and Will Gordon right there as well, along with Mav McNeely. Keegan Bradley up there too, after he screwed everyone at the Sony, has been a course where I feel like this has been a good Keegan Bradley course over the years. He's someone who hits it pretty far, pretty accurately, and he can get super hot with his irons. Let's see how he has played at the Farmers. Yeah, 65th, 16th, 35th, 5th, 4th. So some decent runs over the years by our guy, Keegan Bradley, at Torrey Pines. Well, at least at the Farmers Insurance Open. Pretty decent runs as a part of all of that. So let's shrink this down to past 24 rounds and see if this tells us a little bit different. Again, we saw Burmeister, Will Gordon stick out as sort of back-end players that we like this week, along with Wyndham Clark. So far, they're my 3 favorites. And I know that I'm not going to be alone, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at similar things as me, and projections are going to tell you a lot of this stuff as well. So we shrink down the sample size. Finau, Xander, Rahm, Zalatoris, Ben Griffin, now 5th. Okay, Ben Griffin. I don't see it, but here we are. Ben Griffin had a super long course. Mullenix gets a huge boost up, but I do worry about this primary around the green number. Terrible putting, terrible long irons, terrible fairways, and very good at around the green. I mean, his driving distance is obviously helping him. Cam Davis has never missed a cut here. Never really had a good performance, mind you, but never really had a great run. Callum Tarrant continues to be up there. Kurt Kitayama, Patrick Rogers. Okay, so maybe Rogers were buying into something here. Day, Wyndham Clark, Ben Taylor gets a little bit of a boost after he screwed everyone at the American Express. There's Hayden Buckley coming off his second place finish. There's Will Gordon again. Eric Barnes, another one. Burmeister, Davis Thompson, Dietrich, Luke List continues to linger around. You still have Nick Hardy and JJ Spawn up here. Tyson Alexander is really interesting to me. He had that great run in Houston. Came second at the Houston Open, which is a really hard course. Like, you see Finau wins at 16 under. It's a 4-shot victory over Ben Taylor and Tyson Alexander, Smalley and Mullenix, Noren. Aaron Rye, someone who actually had a pretty decent run at Torrey Pines. I believe it was a year ago. That's when the story came out about his individual head covers on each of his irons. And, we see Rye pop from time to time. Yeah, he was 6 at the Farmers a year ago. So I don't know if there's a necessary correlation between Houston, but I know that they're like minus 12 could be a winning score this week. So guys that play harder courses pretty well. You have the Bram Wagon up there. I remember everyone loved him here one year. Gary Woodland, Justin Rose, Scheffler, Keith Mitchell, Yagabombs. We're seeing him there. Wyndham Clark, Ben Griffin, Jason Day, another one, Thigala. There's Callum Tarrant in at 26. So guys that play harder courses well, we can take a look at that in a little bit as well, when just guys that perform well on hard courses. Obviously, not everyone played in that tournament, but that's what I want to go with here. Here's the other model. So I'm going to edit the custom model and take you just through the very rudimentary one, what I talked about off the top, the very simple things that I want to look at Torrey Pines. What's the type of player that I want to target? Driving distance, 30%. Fairways, 10%. So 3 times as much weight on distance over fairways. But I do want to penalize you if you don't hit a ton of fairways. I want that to be reflected in the model. Proximity from 200 plus, 25%. Proximity 175 to 200, 10%. I think the long irons are more here. And around the green, 25%. Now you could throw in like 75 to 100 yards or 50 to 125, whatever that range is from guys who miss the fairway and have to kind of yank it out a little bit or don't get to the par 5s and 2. Completely understand that. But these are the really the main things that I want to target this week. So we're going to load this one in over the past 24 rounds and see what actually pops up for us, and hopefully we can find some more guys. And it's probably going to be Wyndham Clark, Burmeister, Patrick Rogers, although Rogers probably gets dinged a little bit more based on his short-term around the green type stuff. Let's see here. Top 10. Cam Davis, Burmeister, Homa Kitayama, Wyndham Clark, John Rahm, Eric Barnes. So Eric Barnes, all right, good around the greens, good on long approaches, ton of driving distance. All right, so Eric Barnes. There's another one. Davis Thompson, Xander Kazire, having a good go at the American Express. Montgomery, Dietrich, Bramlett, Zalatoris, Callum Tarrant, Ben Griffin, Thomas, Benny On, Sungjae, List, JJ Spawn, Will Gordon, Rogers, Laird, Tony Finau. Feel like Laird actually had really good run at this tournament over the years. And you just never know when he's going to pop up because it's stupid Martin Laird. Let's see, 46 miscut, 55th, 46 miscut. He had an 8th anthem. It was a while ago. I've been doing this a while. Some of the things that I think are in the recent past are not so much in the recent past. In fact, they happened 7 and 8 years ago. So yeah, I remember I was all in on him here one year, and he was just a fucking disaster. Happens to the best of us when you start pushing. Now you see there's Tyson Alexander, so he pops up. Probably give him a harder look around here. You can see very good around the greens, decently good from 200 plus, bad from 175 to 200, doesn't hit a bunch of fairways. That's not a disqualifier by any means. Smalley and Jaeger, the 2 guys who popped at those other courses. MJ Duffy, who's had a good run at the U.S. Open. Sung you'll know. Harry O from England. Fake Bryson. He's out there bad on these 175 to 200. Where was Luke List on this? How low was Luke List? Luke List, 20th. Okay, so he was actually quite good. So it's kind of the same thing. Good from 200 yards. The around the green is on the upswing at the moment. If we shrunk this down to past 12 rounds, I bet you Luke List vaults from 20th to inside the top 10. Can't hurt to take a gander, right? Of guys who are coming in with good form. And obviously we're only going to get maximum 2 rounds of data on most of the strokes gain numbers from the American Express because 2 of the courses don't have shot link. Because why would they? Why would anyone invest any time into that? Short term, Burmeister, Gordon Clark, Dietrich, Smalley, top 5. List moved from 20th to 16th. Oh my God, Grayson Murray's playing? Hide your wife. Actually, hide your kids. Grayson Murray on the prowl. Kurt Kitayama continues to be at I think I'm looking at Homa as a bet here. I mean, he's obviously won at Riviera in the past. That's good news. Plays the California courses pretty well. He's played this course pretty well in spurts in his career. So when we take a look at Max Homa and what he has done, obviously POA, his preferred putting surface. That's always a good thing to have in the back of your mind here. He's missed the cut the last 2 times that he's played here, but he was 18th. Yeah, 18th the year of the U.S. Open before he missed the cut at the U.S. Open. He was 9th the year before that. I did find some winning trends to look at of just different things to just not necessarily tie your hat to, but just different trends that we can find amongst some of the winners. So 4 of the 5 past terms have seen strong iron play correlated to success. We have seen all top 10 finishers gained in proximity from 200 plus a year ago. So let's see who those players would be. Burnmeister, Woodland, Two Gloves, Tommy Gainey, Grayson, Kazire, what's Zengjian Dews? What's his American name? That's killing me. Marty Dew. Sungjae, Neesmith, Svensson, and Kiati Nakajami. Actually, Matty Schmidt is making a decent run here at American Express, holding his own. Davis Thompson, Xander, Tyson Alexander, another one, Alex Smalley, Luke Liss, MJ Duffy, all different guys that are up there right now. Justin Sue, more on him when we get to the putting. He's putted very well in his career at this course. In 2021, 7 of the top 9 finishers gained in proximity from 200 yards plus. So maybe it's not just to look at who's the best, is who actually gains. That's something we can take a look at too. So, you see half the field is basically gaining. There's a lot of guys who lose too. Like Rahm's not the best from 200 plus, but he does gain on the field. So that's not a disqualifier for him. If we were looking for guys to disqualify, I don't know about Jimmy Holmes. Maybe he makes every putt. Finau in the very, very short term has been bad. So was Callum Tarrant. We probably want to look at that in a longer term per average of where they're doing it and try to weight the fields that they're against as well. In 2019, Justin Rose won and was second best in the field from 200 plus, and all top 11 finishers gained from 200 plus in 2018. If you're bad from this range, you're gonna have a bad time at the Farmers Insurance Open, both on the par 5s and the par 3s, and even some of the longer par 4s. So that's where I'm looking at right now for Burmeister just continues to stand out here. Hopefully missing a bunch of fairways isn't like a huge disqualifier for him. So let's see. I like Homa. I like the Burmista lady. Windy C. What else? Smalley? Smalley's odds are going to be depressed after the past few weeks, and I don't know if we really want to get on him. Kitayama is another name that continues to come out. Tyson Alexander is another decent look. I would get back on Liss depending on what the numbers were, to be perfectly honest with you. Why not Luke Liss? Why not Davis Thompson? These guys absolutely mash the ball. If we're looking, I do want to take a longer view. Let's go past 36 rounds and we take a look at driving distance just to get a bigger sample. You can even go past 100 rounds as it pertains to driving distance, but it's something that I think that we should account for when it comes down to it, guys that are long enough. And if you do want to take the short hitters, like I mentioned, you want to see if they hit a lot of fairways and they gain strokes off the tee. So that'd be just another thing to look at in that regard. So your best players in the field: Burmeister, number 1, Clark, Champ, Rahm, Pendrith. Top 5 in driving distance over the past 36 rounds. Mullenix, Davis, Johnny Vegas, Bramwagon, and Will Gordon inside the top 10. Then you got Tarrant, List, Kitayama, Will Zalatoris, MJ Duffy. Brandon Matthews, I'm shocked he's not like -5 because the guy absolutely mashes it off the tee. Davis Thompson, Chappell, and Grayson Murray. Kyle Westmoreland. Charlie Hoffman, Tony Finau, Nick Hattie, Ryan Brem, Justin Thomas, Patrick Rogers. Tway, the Gribbler, he's an alternate right now. Higo, Hall, Woodland, Montgomery, McNeely. Fowler, shockingly up there as well. Did not expect to see him there. There's another guy, Eric Barnes. Going to write down Eric with a K. Is my guy Eric Cole playing this week? Cole's Hole? Oh, yeah, there's Eric Cole. This does not look like a good course for Eric Cole. I'm not going to lie to you. Sony and the Amex. Maybe we can fire him back up at like the Honda Classic or the Heritage next time we want to see some Eric Cole in our lives. But Will Gordon is looking like an especially good play. Don't think that's going to be a surprise based on how he's performed so far and even throughout the swing season. Will Gordon's been pretty decent. Let's see. And Poa. Gains on Poa. A lot of it at this course in particular. We go back and look at it. It's like, can he hit his approaches? Well, I guess we're going to find out. But around the green, he's been good. Off the tee, he is money every single week. Can he make a few putts? That's what we're worried about with Will the Thrill Gordon. Let's see. He's right at field average past 36 rounds from 200 plus. So that's not the end of the world as long as let's see if he's gaining or not. Will Gordon, yeah, he's slightly gaining. Same as Callum Tarrant, slightly gaining from that range. Ditto with Zalatoris is gaining a bunch. He's actually one of the better players from there. Let's see who the best are on average gained from that range over the past 36. Xander, Woodland, Dietrich, Steele. I just worry about Steele's inability to chip anywhere. Oh, there's Justin Sue. Let's rate him down. Oh, I got a bunch of losers to waste money on this week. This is going to be fun. Oh, Trevor Cohn. David Cohn's son, maybe? Poor Morikawa. I just worry that he can't chip his way. I don't know what to make of Morikawa at this point. I don't know if this is going to rattle him based on what happened at TOC or if he just comes back, because he was playing really well at the U.S. Open when it was at Torrey Pines, and one hole really sunk him on the back nine. He did end up coming fourth. It's pretty good. And we know that his irons are just magic for this place, but can he chip? I mean, at the U.S. Open, he did chip enough. He gained 2.4 strokes, and we're back in California. Dude loves California. This we know. Yeah, I mean, who am I kidding here? Of course I'm going to end up betting Morikawa, especially if the number's in the 20s. Why wouldn't I? He's going to win more than that, right? He's got to win more than that. He's just too talented. Although Rahm's going to be like even money to win this event, which is just silliness, but it's kind of funny at the same time. All right, what else do we need to look into here? Oh, yes, let's go back to regular strokes gained. And we're going to take a look at who performs well on the harder courses. We'll sort by past 24 rounds. When it comes down to it. And down the left-hand side of Fantasy National, I just want to look at scoring relative to par difficult. Now, you are going to get the freebie. Hopefully, you have to take advantage of it at the North Course. But everyone, let's call that a push. How are people going to perform in the 3 rounds at the South Course? That's what I care about. So strokes gained total on difficult courses. Here we are. Difficult courses tend to neutralize some of the bad putters as well, because 2 putting for par is very important, where in a birdie fest, you're going to need to make a lot of 1-putts, which someone like Will Zalatoris does not do all that often. So Zalatoris, Thomas, Finau, Keegan, Sungjae. Those are your top 5 in strokes gained total at difficult courses relative to par over the past 24 rounds. Homa, Hideki, Ben Griffin, Trevor Cohn. Jesus Christ, Trevor Cohn. Okay, Trevor Cohn. You're making the short list of losers that Pat might throw on at $6,000 on DraftKings. We'll see. Morikawa, Steele, Hadwin. I like Hadwin here. Rahm, Shank. Oh, it's going to be tough to click on Shank's name after this week. Trust me. Long, Xander, Wyndham Clark, Smalley, Taylor, Tyson Alexander, Brent, the Tent, Grant. No idea who that is. Robert Streb. Hahn. There we are. Callum Tarrant, another one. Okay, Eckroat. Maybe he'll have a nice rebound week. That's only a 9 weighted rounds, though. Same as Tyson Alexander, only 7 weighted rounds. But obviously he played really well in Houston, so that's going to go a long way. So that's what we're looking at as it pertains to difficult courses out there at the moment. And now I want to take a look, and we'll switch off of that. And we're just going to look at Torrey Pines South, and we're going to look at putting. See the guys that have putted well at this course. And look, obviously putting is quite variant. Obviously, we know that. But I do believe that at this course in particular, there's something about these greens that you either have a feel for or you don't. So we're going to take a look at the past 12 rounds on Torrey Pines South and look at all the players who are just doing well. That should be easy enough. We're going to look at average, and we're going to see if anyone is gaining more than a stroke. I mean, I told you about Taylor Montgomery. I actually already know the answer to this one because I've already put it in my column. But Taylor Montgomery is going to be the best once this loads at, I believe it's 1.8 strokes gained per round. That's only in 3 rounds, but there's obviously something there for him. All right, here we are. Taylor Montgomery in 3 rounds, 1.8 strokes putting. It's pretty good. On the South Course, if you could do that all week, he's most definitely going to win, probably. Who else do we got here? Michael Kim, Rory Sabatini, Justin Suh. 4 rounds, 1.3 strokes putting per round. Will Gordon in 6 rounds, over a stroke gain per round. There's JB Holmes, stroke gain per round on the greens in 12 full rounds of the past 12. Like, that's insane. Justin Thomas putts really well here. Jason Day putts really well here. That's in 12 rounds, gaining almost a stroke. Gim, Ben Taylor, Dylon, woo! Aaron Rye, another one. That's only in 3 rounds. It's all from last year. Rahm, no shocker there. Pendrith and Shoffley. Shoffley's 12 rounds. Pendrith is 3 rounds. Spawn putts really well here. Thigala and Morikawa. Now, this does not include the U.S. Open, by the way. This just includes, and we can go back and we can throw that in if we want, but I want to see, I don't think that the USGA greens are necessarily comparable to what we've seen here. There's Johnny, putts really well at this course. Andrew Novak screwed everyone this week. Seems to putt really well at this course. Who else do we have here? There's Win DC, Wyndham Clark. Woodland putts well. Jagger putts well. Rose putts well. Palmer putts well. No big surprises when it comes down to it, but these are the things that I wanted to see if we could squeak out an edge on. Even Zalatoris gains a little bit on the greens here. Not too much. Same as Max Homa. Not too much, but enough to make like they're not just bleeding strokes away. Like Luke List gaining strokes over 12 rounds at Torrey Pines. And even like when you take a look at the past winners, almost all of them have had a top 10 at this tournament and course over the years. That's just kind of something that popped up over time. Is just guys, for whatever reason, course history is meant more here than at a lot of places. And a lot of that comes down to putting at the same time. Taryn, awful at this course. Now, it's only one round. That can change in a hurry. Who are like some plays up here that we would want to go with? Kitayama, that's only one round. Fowler's been bad at putting at this course. In 12 rounds, he's losing over a stroke per round on the greens. Griot, no big shocker there. Cameron Champ, and that's not a stunner either. And that's over 8 rounds and 12 rounds. Harris English has been very bad on the greens here. However, during the U.S. Open, when it was held here, I believe he came third. Yeah, he came third, missed the cut at Torrey. He has 2 top 10s here in his career, though. So there is a top 10 stat. I'll include it in my column on DK Nation. I don't have it at my fingertips, and I don't want to misquote it. Okay, here it is. 12 of the past 14 winners have posted a top 10 at this event prior to winning. Jon Rahm won in his first start in 2017, and Scott Stallings, who won in 2014, was the only other exception to that. I mean, if you're trying to make a short list of players who can actually win that you want to bet on, that's not a bad place to start, realistically, right? So let's take a look from last year. Just potential outliers that we could see that are in the field this time around. Siwoo just missed. Montgomery just missed. The Smother Man just missed. They were all top 11. Norlander, Lanto, Malnati, Sabatini, Sam Ryder from 2021. The year before that, Ari Iggs. There's Max Homa. He finishes inside the top 10. Beautiful. Bo Hostler. Mav McNeely. I know Mav McNeely was 15th that year. Chuck Hoffman. There's another one who's up there. Woodland. Scott Brown, good Lord. This is also the fun Brant Snedeker beats Jimmy Walker course. That year was outrageous. I kind of want to see one tournament per year where the weather is just so atrocious. Kind of happened at Colonial last year when Burns posted that number, then the wind got bad on everyone. So there's Harris English in 2018, Keegan, JB Holmes, Ryan Palmer again. So just even to kind of go back and look through time, you can see that Luke List had a top 12 that year. He was T10 the year before winning. So even just the year before winning, it's not a bad way to try to narrow it down. We've seen a lot of repeat champions at this course over the year. We've seen a lot of people who have won at Memorial do really well here over the years. Obviously, Rahm has won at both. Did Rose win or did Rose lose to Lingmerth? Now I can't even remember. Was it Lingmerth? Did Lingmerth win Memorial? He has won Memorial. Yeah, it was 2015. He lost to Lingmerth in the playoffs. Stupid. I had money on stupid Rose that year, too. And not Lingmerth. Lingmerth! That's back when he was like the homeless man Spieth. Dude couldn't miss from anywhere. It was outrageous. But that would be a corollary course that I would look at. I mean, it's no surprise that when you do take a look at it, I mean, Tiger's won like 8 times at this course. I think he's won 7 times at Muirfield Village. Morikawa has won at Muirfield Village too, by the way. Patrick Cantlay has, and he beat Morikawa in a playoff there as well. Ben An is someone who's had a nice run at Muirfield Village over different points of his career. But I'm curious to see here how he has played at Farmers over the years. Not great. I mean, the guy can't putt. Minus 8.5, minus 7.2. Thanks, Benny Ann, for coming out. Yeah, he was second. I believe that was the year that Bryson won at Memorial. Yep. Bryson beat Stanley and Ben Ann in a playoff. Oh, boy. There we go. Patrick Rogers, another one who plays well at this event. How about that? Maybe it's the fast greens. I don't know what it is. And they're both difficult courses, so that would, I guess the second round that year was easy. The first round was very difficult. The rest was average. And that's going to happen here, too. You're going to have some average rounds as we go through it. But we've come to that time to guess the odds for the Farmers Insurance Open. Rahm is going to be the favorite, obviously. But how big of a favorite is Jon Rahm going to be? I think he closed at 7-1 for the American Express. Now, I don't have the luxury of knowing whether he wins or loses at the American Express. He is winning in the third round at the time of this record, but I'm going to say he goes off at 5.5-1, plus 550. It's unbettable, and it's terrifying all at the same time. But it's good news for everyone else's numbers in the field. I'm going to say that JT is probably second. We'll put JT tentatively at 10. Zalatoris at 14. I'm hoping if I get anything better than 16, I'm probably going to bet Will Zalatoris. But I'll say Will Zalatoris at 14, Xander at 14, Finau at 16. That would leave Morikawa at 22, Sungjae at 25, Homa at 25, Hideki at 28. Those would be my guesses for the top guys in the field, and right around those numbers. And when they open a DraftKings Sportsbook and other places, I'll tweet them out so you can see. But that'd be my tentative guess. And let me actually, I asked who the winner was going to be down in the comment section. That is not John Rahm. Tell me what you think John Rahm's opening odds are for the Farmers Insurance Open. And honest to God, if you do really want to bet Rahm, you might miss out on a win by doing this, but just give it, I don't know, 9 holes. And maybe he starts off poorly. And it's not like you're going to get a ton of value. It's not like he's going to go to 40-1 unless he's like 7 over par or something like that. Then you probably didn't want to bet him anyway. But if he's like 2 over through 9 holes, he'll probably drop to like 10-1, which at this point is like double your value. And who cares at that point? You still have 72 minus 9, 61 holes. No, 63 holes left to play. Just different things like that if you want to get a piece of Rahm. I would prefer to do that and potentially miss out in case he starts hot rather than try to parlay him with an NFL game or something like that. That just, now I need 2 outcomes to happen. At least in this outcome, I either miss it or what I want to happen happens. And, he's a little bit behind the 8 ball, but I do get better value because I'm betting on his talent to win anyway. Not saying that I am going to do that, but I think that's one way that you can play the live odds in your favor if you do want to get up to one of these favorites. Check the description to see if the Listeners League has populated as of yet. Let me check my email right quick, okay? Oh, I got a bunch of emails. That's good news. Let's see here. No. No Listeners League as of this recording. Hopefully by publish, I do have it, so it populates both on the audio and video feeds. If you're on the video feed, smash like and sub to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the audio podcast, please do that. That's where more people listen to the audio podcast and watch the videos. But the more people that can listen to the audio, the better it is for both me, the Pat Mayo Experience, and the number of free shows we can continue to put out. So that would mean a lot to me, obviously. Plus, become a member at fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Okay? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. Starts on Wednesday. Remember that. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!